Hola clase, buenas tardes. Hoy es domingo el 13 de febrero, el día en que necesitamos entregar nuestras primeras prácticas, ¿sí? Y también es el día del Super Bowl, también. Eso no es tan importante. Bueno, hi everyone. Today is the 13th of February, Sunday, and today we turn in our practice activities, our first group of those. And then there's a Super Bowl, that's not really important, but although we'll be watching it. And if you're watching it, I do understand. I wanted to get this video to you earlier. So if you are so busy watching the Super Bowl, and maybe your team wins and you're super exuberant and excited about it and things get out of hand. And then 12 o'clock comes, I will take Las Practicas through el lunes. I'll take them through tomorrow. I won't count them late. Now, what you may have noticed or you may notice coming up is that some activities will be counted a certain percentage late each day. Now that's set automatically. I don't go in there and do that for everyone. Es demasiado trabajo para mí. It's too much work for me to do, so it just does it automatically. So you do want to get things in on time. However, I can override those things, and I'm very specific in what I can override, and so I can override things for today. However, if you haven't gotten started, it's going to be maybe a tough road, and I would go ahead and work on those practicas during the Super Bowl, especially if it's one that you're not really interested in. Kind of like for me, I'm not really interested in this one. I'll have it on, I guess, just because I like sports. But if it's not very entertaining, which I don't think it will be, I think it's going to be a kind of a lopsided affair. But if it's not very entertaining, maybe you can get your laptop out and go for it. I mean, some activities will be verbal, so you need to speak into your microphone. But just go as not as fast as you can, but you do want to time yourself and make sure you get those in before midnight. Okay, so that's the main announcement. Another announcement I have is about the actual language and a problem area that I see every semester. It's not you guys, it's not specific to you guys, but it is something that I'll touch on here in a moment as we go through the textbook. And that is me llamo. The word after llamo should be your name. So if I'm going to say who I am, I'm introducing myself. Hola, me llamo Rey. Or you can put whatever your name. Hola, me llamo Luke Skywalker. Whatever name you want to put there. I know your names. You know your names. I'm interested in you expressing that with correct grammar. Okay, so that brings us to this question in our mind. Well, doesn't llamo mean, and everyone can fill in the blank, and it doesn't mean that. Llamo is a verb, and it's this verb here. This is like pre cell phones or pre iPhones, or maybe you have one of these home things. Hola. So if you see an old video, they're doing this, or people did this, which meant call me, right? So this llamar is a verb that means to call. It does not mean name. There is a word for name, and it's nombre. However, in Espanol, it is when you present yourself, people mostly use the phrase me llamo. So Spanish is not a version of English. It's not, oh, how do people in English do it? No, Spanish does Spanish, and English, I want to say English does English, but English is a palimpsest. If you know that word, it means an overlay. So you're kind of a template, you're overlaying. Yeah, English is a copy of many other languages. And Spanish was doing its own thing while English was developing and trying to get its own thing started. So me llamo is the way we express it in Espanol. And it's a different mentality. It's a different culture. It comes from a different culture. And so it's not how do you say your name? How do you say who you are? Or how do you say what your name is? It's how do you present yourself? And in Spanish, we say, I call myself this. And in English, we present ourselves by saying what our name is, right? So it sounds almost the same, but it's not quite the same. Just remember, me llamo, and then whatever your name is. Okay, I am putting on a smile, and I am not doing that underneath because um, someone did not tell you that, and maybe they should have. And I think maybe some teachers get tired of telling people that in high school, but now you know. And so hopefully we'll get that on our practice activities. I make some comments in there if you've already looked at your, or if you've already submitted some activities, but I made some comments. Hopefully you read those and hopefully they're helpful. So let's go through libro de texto. I want to go through where we should be, and I just want to be sure we understand what's going on in the libro de texto. So I'm going to scroll really rápidamente through el libro de texto. And so we're here. Aquí tenemos el alfabeto. So we have, we actually need to back up a little bit. Of course, we have las preguntas, sorry, el vocabulario. You should read through all of these conversaciones. Son muy importantes. And they give you, I want to say clues, pistas, but they don't only give you clues or pistas, they give you las respuestas, the answers to what you might be looking for in your practice activities. So do read through those practicas. I believe in a previous video, I did go through and give you the pronunciation of these words. The great thing about Espanol is once you learn the alfabeto, pronunciation no es difícil. Pronunciation is not an issue. I think the trickiest letter might be H, which sounds like this. Yeah, it makes no sound at all. Yeah, so hopefully we got through the despedidas, and go for it, try it. I will hear what you sound like on your recordings. And so if you are just really concerned or confused about them, let me know. And of course, I'm always glad to help as much as I can. So we have el verbo ser aquí, and el verbo ser, as I mentioned in the last update, is the most commonly used verb, and kind of like a water that gets, or a rock that gets more water over it, it's the most commonly run over rock. I guess that's going to evolve. It's going to change shapes, functions perhaps more than other rocks, and that's the case with ser. So as you continue with Espanol, ser will be weird, and that's okay. But what do we use ser for? Ser is to express being, what something is. It is to identify, indicate, and so we have some examples here. Yo soy estudiante de Rose State. Tú eres mi amigo, and you have the English underneath there. Usted es de Colombia. And then there's that question, no? Él es mi profesor de español. Notice that L has an accent there, un acento. If it doesn't have an acento, then this phrase wouldn't make sense, right? Ella, remember the double L sound? Yeah. Ella es la profesora. All of these are identifying, right? It's mainly what we use ser for. We use it for some other things, but it's meant to indicate, identify sustantivos, nouns, or to describe people as well. Yo soy, tú eres, usted es, él o ella es. The interesting thing about Espanol with these verbos is that the pronoun is usually contained within the verb. So if you just had soy, we would understand that it's yo soy. If you just had in a sentence eres, you would understand that it's you are. However, when we get to usted, él y ella, they both use s, or they all three use s. So we need to indicate who we're talking about. Por ejemplo, if I start a sentence with soy rey, you understand that I'm indicating myself. If I start a sentence with eres Marcela, you understand I'm saying you are Marcela. Yo soy alto, I am taller. Tú eres alto or alta. We can leave the yo or the two off and it's clear. Same with nosotros and vosotros if you're thinking ahead. But for the usted, él and ella, same for the plural forms, ustedes, ellos, ellas, they use the same verb conjugation. So you have to indicate. If I say, es mi hermano, we don't know if we're saying usted or él. We know we're not saying ella because hermano signifies brother. But I could say, es una persona importante. It could be usted es, you are, él es, he is, or ella es, she is. So we have to go ahead and indicate. Instead of saying es, we just say ella es una persona importante. She is a very important person. Okay, so here are some examples. Do read through those ejemplos. I'll decide which language I'm going to speak in here in a minute, going back and forth. But aquí tenemos las preguntas. As I indicated in the last video, intonación es muy importante. So we have, and I apologize if I didn't mention this in the last video. I may be recalling things I'm actually doing on the physical campus. But with preguntas, we simply use our inflection in our voice to indicate whether it's a pregunta or not. And we also juxtapose or switch the noun or the subject and the verb. Here we have Miguel es estudiante. Simple statement. We juxtapose Miguel and es, and we have es Miguel estudiante. And so maybe your eyebrows go up like mine just did. Es Miguel estudiante. And so that happens the same way we do in English, right? Although we do make statements that sound like questions, which is kind of weird. It's kind of a California way of talking, I think. No offense to anyone from California. Okay, so eres inteligente statement. Eres inteligente. If someone asks you that, just don't continue the conversation. They're already suspect of you, right? Okay, so Miguel es estudiante. We can also add a question to a statement. And with inflection, that becomes a question. Miguel es estudiante, no? Or eres inteligente, ¿verdad? Yeah, at that point, the conversation is going to go sour at that point. So, Ana habla mucho. Let's just juxtapose habla and Ana. Now it becomes a question. Put the action first, the subject second. Habla Ana mucho. Okay, something to think about as you're doing your practice activities. So negation, you simply put no in front of the verb. Ana es estudiante. Ana no es estudiante. In English, we do it backwards. We do a lot of things backwards in English, but we would say Ana is not a student. In Espanol, we put the no in before it, so it's really clear. Ana no es estudiante. And if you use two, you want to put a comma. If you use two indications of no, we do that in English. We just make a conjunction out of them. But we say no, comma, Ana no es estudiante. It's emphasis, basically, when you put the extra no in there. So you do want to go through that and make sure you know where to reference them when you're doing your practice activities, of course. So para hablar más, here are some palabras that may be a little bit difficult to pronounce, but we have the alfabeto in Espanol. It actually works. So if you don't want to go back and see this video, you can just reference the alfabeto. Yeah? So here we go. We'll say these and maybe you can remember them. I know you can. ¿Cuál es tu, and whatever you want to know. ¿Cuál es tu nombre? ¿Cuál es tu apellido? So you might have to ask this on the exercises for the evaluación interpersonal. Apellido. Double L makes a Y sound. ¿Cuál es tu número de teléfono? ¿Cuál es tu edad? ¿Cuál es tu carrera? Now we can use ¿cuál es su for all of these that I just mentioned. It's just going to depend on whether you're being formal, someone who you're familiar with, or formal, someone you're not familiar with, or informal, someone you're familiar with. Informal is someone you might be more casual with, right? Formal is going to be a professional situation. Perhaps you don't know the person as well. So let's do a few ¿cuál es su? ¿Cuál es su dirección? ¿Cuál es su dirección? False cognate there. Dirección is address. ¿Cuál es su fecha de nacimiento? Date of birth. ¿Cuál es tu lugar de nacimiento? So I switch back to the informal. What's your place of birth? ¿Cuál es tu correo electrónico? Or ¿cuál es su e-correo? Now, full disclosure, people anymore have just started to say email. And that's not a United States thing. That's a Mexico, Colombia, España. People do say correo electrónico, but it's so much faster. People have found to say email. It's just treated as a foreign word. That's a common word. ¿Cuál es tu ocupación? ¿Cuál es su profesión? Bien. So pronunciación, of course, makes sense in Espanol. We only have 5 vocales, A, E, I, O, U. And remember to smile with the E. If you're not smiling, you're not saying it correctly, probably. And when you're going through your speaking activities, remember O is short. It's going to be O. Almost like you're blowing cold air. You want to see the air when it's really cold outside. O. In English, we have this thing we kind of glide off of it, and it's really OW, and maybe some other vowels after that. But we say O, and it's really not the same letter, O, and we kind of hold that O shape. U is the same, it's just deeper in our chest when we say U. So we have A, E, I, O, U. Again, the only consonante that is always silent is H. Hopefully you remember that. And so here we have the alphabet español. It works except for the H. Why is that there? Nobody knows. So la puntuación, at the beginning of questions, we have upside down question mark. And at the end of questions, we have the right side up question mark. Also, the exclamación, it's at the beginning of sentences also. Super convenient, right? You know when it's a question. And you know when it's a exciting situation or something like that. Okay, los números. The thing with números, here's the great advantage of learning Espanol or learning any language como adulto, as an adult. The concept of counting is not new for you. So you've counted in a language that is actually more difficult than Espanol. So you simply have to lay your understanding of counting on top of the vocabulary, or lay the vocabulary of Espanol on top of your understanding of counting. So it's really not a new concept. It's just a matter of vocabulario. So let's count a little bit. Maybe you can measure your pronunciation against mine. My voice will sound different than others, of course. So here we go. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And then we go past 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. We'll go past 20 and unidad 2. We'll go past 20 in unit 2. But notice here, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. These are all kind of standalone. They kind of do their own thing. So really, 1 hasta 15, 1 through 15 or 0, which is actually the first number. 0 through 15, you're gonna have to basically memorize those. But there are some ways, things that you can do. 14, maybe if you're taking some French, it sounds similar. 13, it sounds like tres. 12, it sounds like dos. 11, if you're reading in English, it sounds like once, but I actually saw this in English. I was like, how do we get 1 from O-N-E? And I was like, ooh, it was just really weird to me and in my mind, which was thinking in Espanol at the time. But 15, it's a quintuplets. I don't know if you know anybody with quintuplets, but maybe you know what it is. It's 5 babies at the same time. And so 15 are a quintet, maybe in a musical performance. So that's maybe a way or two that you can use to help remember those. But you do want to remember that Q followed by U, you don't want to pucker too much. You want to go ahead and smile. 15. 16 through 19, all we're saying, if you look at it closely, is 10 and 6. 10 and 7, 10 and 8, 10 and 9. And when you get to the 20s, you're doing the same thing, but these are all one word. We don't break into two words until we get to 31, 31. Okay, so if you learned it in a different way, that's fine. I actually learned it as three different words: diez, space, e, and then a y, and then space, seis. But anymore, I like to do the new way, which is make it one gigantic word. Okay, so we have 16, 17, 18, 19. Okay, so, and you can go past these if you want to. I'll go ahead and give you the pronunciation if you want to venture forward. 30, 40, 50. That looks like cinco, right? And 40 looks like cuatro, right? 60, 70, 80, 90. Notice that 60 and 70. The difference is 70 has one more T than 60, and 7 is one more than 6. That's one way to remember it. 60. Also, T is the next letter after S. 7 is the next letter after 6. There's a lot of ways that you can remember this. 60, 70. Okay, so consejo de aprendizaje, you should be about right here, and there's a little bit more to learn. There's the verb tener, there's esquina cultural, and then there's the verb llamar, which we talked about earlier in este video. So there's tener, and then there's llamarse, me llamo, and you want to really focus on here. It's I call myself. We understand it as my name is, but the word name is really nowhere on this screen except in English. So I will back out of this, and I just want to take you briefly, as we round up this video, to los apuntes. Go through them, por favor, at your own pace. Of course, you will hear my little spiel, and you can hit escape and get out of presentation mode and see my narration at the bottom of the screen. And you can listen to it also. And go through all of these, of course, reference these pages. And I think you have a highway to learning a little bit faster. All right, so you guys are doing great so far. If you've already started on your practicas and you're making your way through the ones due today on the 13th, if you haven't started, go ahead and get started if you're looking at this on Domingo, and I'll take them through el 14. So, feliz día de San Valentín. Happy Valentine's Day, everyone. Y nos vemos en el próximo video. Hasta luego.